You don't think about death at funerals. It shows up in the shower, in traffic, right before sleep. The thought comes out of nowhere. What if today were the last day? Your stomach tightens, and you change the subject. But the fear isn't dying. It's dying like this, without doing what mattered, without becoming who you should have been. You postponed decisions, stayed in wrong relationships, buried dreams just to survive, and called it being mature. Here's the truth no one tells you. Fear of death isn't spiritual, it's practical. It's fear of a poorly lived life. So the real question isn't about the end, it's about now. If today were your last, what exactly would you be losing? This fear has a name, and it's not weakness. Napoleon Hill called it the absence of a definite purpose. When you don't know why you live, everything feels threatening. Work, pay bills, solve problems you didn't choose, give energy to the wrong people, and call that adulthood. But the brain doesn't tolerate emptiness. It demands meaning. When it doesn't find it, it creates anxiety and uses death as the final threat. Hill observed this for decades. Productive people don't fear death. People driven by purpose don't either. Fear grows where life is stagnant. You're not afraid of the end. You're afraid of the balance sheet, of what you never tried, of what you abandoned. That's why the thought comes at night, when the noise fades, and it's just you, and the question you avoided all day. Is this it? Is this all? Will I end like this? These questions aren't morbid. They're warnings, signals that something is wrong now, not in the future, now. Fear of death doesn't ask for medication. It asks for direction. It asks for a delayed decision, one you already know exactly what it is. And while you run from it, the fear grows, because it's not about dying. It's about living differently. You learn to fake control. You plan everything, organize everything, but avoid the one decision that matters. You call it being cautious, but it's fear in disguise, fear of choosing wrong, fear of responsibility. So you say it's not the right time yet, that you need more signs, more safety, more money, more confirmation, more certainty, but that time never comes, and time passes anyway. Napoleon Hill was blunt. Most people don't fail. They simply never decide. They stay stuck in the middle. They don't live what they want, and don't leave what they hate. They call it balance, but it's paralysis. You believed a quiet lie, that overthinking is maturity, that waiting is wisdom, that avoiding risk is intelligence. But this illusion is expensive. It drains energy, kills enthusiasm, and steals time. Meanwhile, your body reacts. Sleep becomes light. Your chest tightens. Anxiety grows without a clear reason. And the thought appears, one day it all ends. Not as philosophy, but as a threat. You think that thought is about death. It's not. It appears when you betray yourself, when you choose comfort over truth, when you stay where you no longer fit, when you accept less than you know you deserve. Your mind records it and collects the debt. The most dangerous illusion is this: believing you have unlimited time, that you'll fix it later, that tomorrow you'll change. Fear grows right there, because your unconscious knows time isn't waiting, and life doesn't pause. You're not afraid of dying. You're afraid of staying like this, waking up 10 years from now, the same, with the same excuses, the same unmade choices, the same silent renunciations. That's more terrifying than death, and you feel it. That's why your mind creates extremes, endings, last days, final chances, not to destroy you, but to wake you up, because deep down, you know you're postponing your own life. If this made you uncomfortable, don't ignore it. That discomfort is awareness waking up. Here, we don't pretend everything is fine. We talk about fear, emptiness, and the choices you keep avoiding. Click the button now and subscribe, because some messages don't show up by accident. God didn't enter your life when fear appeared. He was always there. Silence was not absence. It was waiting. You mistook stillness for abandonment, but God works quietly. While you avoided hard questions, He sustained time itself. The Bible doesn't treat death as a threat. It treats it as transition. Fear doesn't come from God. It comes from lack of direction. Proverbs says something clear. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but the Lord's purpose prevails. That changes everything. God is not pressuring you with the end. He's calling you into the now. Fear of death is not punishment. It's invitation, an invitation to realign your life with what truly matters, with who you were created to be, without distractions. You thought God wanted to spare you from pain, but He wants to spare you from waste. Pain passes. Time does not return. That's why discomfort grows. That's why fear persists. Not divine threat, but mercy. The Psalms say your days are already written, not to scare you, but to free you. If God knows the end, you can live without panic, without excessive control, without postponing decisions. Nothing escapes His hands. Fear of death shrinks. When purpose expands, when choices carry meaning, when you stop living shallow, God doesn't ask for perfection. He asks for honest surrender, for truth, even while trembling. You don't have to fix everything today, but you must stop running. God doesn't call you through fear. He calls you by name. He doesn't shout. He whispers and waits for you to listen. Without noise, real faith doesn't erase endings. It redefines the path. You don't live to avoid death. You live to fulfill purpose. And when that happens, fear loses power, because life gains weight, the weight of meaning. Maybe God is using this fear, not to paralyze you, but to wake you up, to cut excess, to pull you out of autopilot, to restore presence, clarity, direction. Fear is not the villain. The question is whether you'll listen or numb it again. God has already spoken, through discomfort. Now the choice is yours. The first healing isn't spiritual, it's practical. Napoleon Hill said, "Purpose begins with decision, not certainty." You don't need to feel brave. You need to choose despite fear. Waiting for fear to disappear is illusion. It shrinks when you move. Fear paralyzes you because everything feels abstract. Life, future. The brain panics. Purpose. It doesn't handle infinity well, but it responds to the concrete. The next step, the first action, is simple. Define a visible commitment, something outside your head, a project, a necessary conversation, a boundary you avoid setting, something small but real, something with a date. Don't think about your whole life. That overwhelms you. Think about the next 30 days. What must you start? What must you end? What must you stop postponing? Write it down. Don't negotiate with the paper. Anxiety decreases when life gains direction, not when everything is solved, but when something moves. God doesn't act in emptiness. He acts on the path while you walk, even trembling, even imperfect. Pray before acting, but don't pray to escape. Pray to sustain the decision. God, keep me steady. Not God, take this from me. Fear doesn't leave first. Obedience comes first. Peace comes later. Every time you choose, even something small, fear loses ground, because now your life responds. It stops being passive, stops waiting for external signs, and begins to generate meaning from the inside out. Don't wait for applause. Don't wait for validation. Purpose rarely begins comfortably. It begins quietly, subtly, like a seed, but real and alive. Thoughts about death decrease. You'll notice something, not because everything is fixed, but because you're living again. Fear retreats when life advances. It always has. It always will. There is a second healing. It's harder because it doesn't involve starting something new. It involves letting something old go. Fear of death grows when you live attached to stories that already ended, but you keep carrying. You hold on to old versions of yourself, roles that no longer fit, guilt that isn't yours, promises no one expects anymore, expectations that didn't come from God. They came from fear of disappointing others, and this exhausts the soul. Quietly, Napoleon Hill said the greatest thief of purpose is emotional indecision. You act, but don't commit. You start, but keep an escape plan. You love, but with the brakes on, this inner split drains you. Half of the other half protects itself, and the body feels that war. Unexplained fatigue, constant irritation, diffuse anxiety, and thoughts about the end. The second action is clear. Choose something to consciously end: a bond, a habit, an old guilt, an identity that already died, and you pretend it didn't. That is courage. Pray like this today. No detours. God, help me let go. Don't ask for immediate replacement. Don't ask for guarantees. Ask for closure. God doesn't build on open ruins. He closes cycles. When you let go, something shifts inside. Fear decreases because life flows again. Not stuck in the past, not trapped in what if. It returns to the present, where God dwells. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to stop holding on. Fear of death weakens when you live whole, without hidden reserves, without postponed goodbyes, without parallel lives. One life, real, letting go hurts, but carrying what's over hurts more. Your body already knows that. That's why fear insists. It's not asking for protection, it's asking for release, and you already know what it is. You don't wake up the same way anymore. Fear still exists, but it no longer rules. Now it informs. You understand something simple. Fear of death was never about the end. It was about delay, about a life lived on hold. You realize God was never threatening you. He was calling you into presence, into truth, into living choices, here, now, before time slips away. You don't need to prove anything or race against the clock. Purpose is not urgency, it's alignment. When you live aligned, death loses symbolic power. It stops being a threat and becomes transition. Napoleon Hill was right. Those who live with purpose don't fear the end because they are already whole, already moving, already committed to something greater, even without full answers, even without guarantees, but with direction. God doesn't want you living afraid. He wants you awake, aware, responsible for yourself, open to transformation, without emotional numbness, without self-deception, with quiet courage. You didn't defeat fear of death. You defeated automatic living, and that changes everything. Because now your days carry weight. They have value. They have intention. They have soul. They have God. Fear may return on certain nights, on hard days, but now you know it doesn't announce the end. It asks if you're living, and you answer with choices, not escape. You don't know when it ends, but you know how you want to live, and that is enough. To breathe deeply, to walk forward, to sleep in peace, and to trust truly. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to our channel. Here, every story reveals why you suffer and what God is teaching you through it. Psychology to understand yourself, spirituality to understand why. And for you who stayed until the end of this video, comment, "I choose to live with purpose." There is a promise of clarity and peace for those who take a stand.